Let's roll. The Combat Sports Report has begun on the Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Shout out to all of our television affiliates, apps, platforms, networks, and everything else in between. We got a solid show lined up. We're going to break down UFC 321. Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn going head-to-head in Dubai. I was in attendance at the UFC card in Vancouver over the weekend, so we'll go over that a little bit. We murdered our best bets for the Vancouver card over the weekend. And we're going to talk some BKFC right now off the top of the program with a man that's coming off of a TKO win, kicking it with us from Indianapolis, Indiana. And I'm going to say the second most famous man in the city after Pat McAfee. Cameron VanCamp steps up in it. What's going on, Cameron? How you doing, man? Congratulations on the win. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
So, listen, it's been a little more than a week right now. You look great right now. How do you feel after the fight?
Yeah, no, I feel great. He didn't really touch my face. My hands are healthy. So, yeah, everything's feeling really good.
Is that the number one? You know, you've been in mixed martial arts. You were in the UFC. So this is a new game right now. I guess, you know, the number one thing as a fighter, right, is don't get punched in the face, right? No one wants to get punched in the face. But bare-knuckle, I guess, how critical is it that you get out without hurting your hands? Because I was going to say, isn't that one of the most dangerous things? You can win a fight and still mess your hand up pretty good and be out for a little while after, right?
Yeah. That's the thing with bare-knuckle is, like, after a fight, I don't have, like, my brain doesn't hurt, you know, like I'm not that concussed. I got like cosmetic, like cuts in here and there, but yeah, breaking your hands is the biggest thing to watch out for. It's going to sideline you. And luckily my good. So,
so not this sport isn't for everybody. You know, we talked to Chris Lytle a lot about this. He's a regular guest on the program. And he goes, even I was scared of this stuff. Like, this stuff isn't for everybody. You were a mixed martial artist before. Did you think, when you saw this, did you think, yeah, I'm one day I'm going to do that? Or did you think, no, I would never do that, and you're surprised you're doing it right now?
Yeah, no, it's funny you bring up Chris because he's like I'm from Indy. He's from Indy. He's like my biggest mentor. Yeah, he's been my biggest mentor through my career. And before I got to the UFC, he started doing he actually had a fight for bare knuckle, and then he started doing commentating. And I was talking to him like, man, I really just want to do that. And he's like, you're so close. Just keep the path. And then it went how it went, and now I'm here anyway. So I love it. I feel like I'm built for it.
Yeah, what is it about it that some guys just like it better than the mixed martial arts? Is it not worrying about the takedowns? Is it like not worrying about the training for the wrestling? Is it just like this sheer joy of punching someone in the face, bare knuckle? What is it about it that attracted you to this, that you like it, that you feel like, you know, this is your lane that you should be in?
Yeah, I don't know, because I started off as a wrestler, so you would think like that would benefit me to be able to grapple, and you know, in this you can't. I think really the big thing that draws me to it is like the rawness of it. I always had like a kind of like a self-taught style. Like my techniques were a little unorthodox and a little. But like with bare knuckle, like it's such a new sport. Like if you're just a pure boxer, you're used to hiding behind your gloves. You can't really do that. If you're an MMA guy, you're used to kicking and takedowns. You can't do any of that. So it's just this weird like middle ground where people are still trying to figure it out. But really the biggest thing that comes through is like the rawness and like the mental, like the getting in there and just being okay with walking through knuckles, you know?
Now, it's so reactionary. The one thing that stands out to me about BKFC is just how fast the fights are. You're literally, you know, the term fighting in a phone booth. You might get that for a couple of sequences in an MMA fight, but not basically the essence of the fight. How do you react that fast? Can you game plan? Is it reactionary? Is it reflex? Or do you just got to admit, I'm going to get tagged here, right? Like the chin obviously has to be there, but the thing that just blows me away is the speed of the fights, Cameron.
Yeah, no, the speed was really hard to get used to. My first fight, I think I was like, because it's a 2-minute round, so I was like halfway through the round. I'm still trying to like make my reads because I'm used to fighting 5-minute rounds. And then it was like, I hear the clack, like the round's almost over. I was like, man, I'm just now feeling like I'm ready to go. So the pace definitely is hard to get used to.
You got to come out fast, right? So basically, there's no pacing yourself, essentially, right? Because you got to leave it on the table from the first second.
Yeah, you got to make your reads while you're attacking, which is hard to get used to.
So I've always wondered too. Guys tell me, yeah, I knocked the guy out, but I actually wanted to go longer because I put a lot of training in. I wanted to test myself, this and that. I always think that's crazy. I'd sort of like to get in and out with as least damage, but you did get out with least damage right now, so I imagine that you're very eager to get back in there and fight again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I got out, no damage. I went up. We're fishing for muskie this week, so my hands are good. I'm able to fish, and that's cool. But yeah, I felt like in this fight, I felt like he's kind of looking for a way out. Right when I kind of got into my rhythm, and I was ready to start putting on a show, and I felt like he just kind of looked for a way out. So I'm happy that I'm not hurt, but I was kind of in the moment, kind of upset because I wanted to show some more.
Now, let me ask you about Chris Lytle. And you said he's kind of been a mentor for you, and one of the toughest guys to ever fight in the combat sports game. Just has that credibility. What has he meant for you personally to have someone that's, it's as a fighter, you could talk to different people, but unless they've actually done it, right, they don't fully understand what you're feeling or what you're thinking. How important and what's it like? How critical has Chris been for your career?
Yeah, no, Chris has been everything. It's awesome. In the city, he's really the guy that I feel like understands me the most and understands where I'm at in my journey. And even with where I'm at with bare-knuckle, because he talks all the time that when he was with the UFC in their early days, he said it felt a lot like how bare-knuckle feels right now. So he kind of knows the process of being in a promotion while it's building and growing. But yeah, he's another guy that if you watch his fights, he doesn't have that perfect technical 1-2 really clean technique. He's kind of got a self-taught kind of made his own way work, and so just in that aspect we're a lot alike. And yeah, he's been everything to me for my career.
We've spoken to a lot of fighters in BKFC that have been in the octagon and the UFC as well, and they all said that the walk-in for the BKFC scared them more. And we always hear about the octagon jitters. That, oh my God, I made it to the UFC, that first fight in the UFC. Compare the UFC, your first fight in the UFC feeling to walking into the first BKFC fight, because most of the time people realize, oh, damn, this is super real. There's no turning back now with the BKFC. Everyone says, yeah, I'm not really scared of an MMA fight. BKFC, you realize, man, this other guy wants to murder me for real.
Yeah, no, when I walked for the UFC the first time, I mean, I was kind of blown away by the stadium, but I'd been in big stadiums, so, and then at the end of the day, I'm just fighting with gloves like I always have, so it was easy to stomach that. But yeah, the first bare knuckle fight, man, it's definitely feels really strange. You feel exposed, and it feels extra dangerous. But I know I had the first round, my first bare knuckle fight. And then I came to the corner in between rounds, and my little brother's in my corner. And I was like, bro, this doesn't even hurt. I love this. It's so fun.
Oh, you loved it?
Most fun I've had in a fight. It's insane.
I was just going to ask you that. When was it oh, yeah, I'm good. I love this. So it only took one round, and you're like, oh, this is for me.
Yeah, literally. I wonder if I can get the voice from in between those rounds one day, because, yeah, that's exactly – there was no critiquing on what I did in the round. It was just bro, this is so fun.
Hey, awesome stuff, Cameron. Well, let's get you on before your next fight again. Continued success. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There's Cameron VanCamp with us, coming off a TKO win in Hammond, Indiana, the king of Indianapolis right now. All right, we're going to get into some UFC 321 and more. Combat Sports Report continues on the Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Gabriel Morency. Thanks to Cameron VanCamp for joining us on the program. And man, it's striking to me. I speak to a lot of athletes. I've spoken to athletes in every professional sport over the years. We've been doing it a long time. And fighters, and not all of them, not all of them. I've made the mistake of saying before, man, this guy's like one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. And then like the next day he runs over a pregnant woman in a car type of deal, right? Like Rampage Jackson is a really nice guy, but he also does crazy things, right? But the BKFC guys, like, they're always just so cordial, nice, soft-spoken dudes, Some of them kind of look like crazy fighters, but they're even like kind of cool and just chill type of people. And I got to tell you, too, the BKFC crew, like hosting MMA shows can be kind of, it can kind of be like very dramatic. Right? Put it this way. Not all fighters are great with time. Just saying. You know what I mean? They're fighters. Right? You know what I mean? They're fighters. So they're good at forgetting things. Or, I've had fighters call in like an hour after the show's over. Hey, I'm good to go. How you doing? It's like, we were supposed to do this an hour ago. But shout out to BKFC as a company, very, very professional. And their fighters very professional. And the promotion, very professional. That's why they're successful as they are. They have an entertaining product, right? It's a raw product. It's like the UFC was 20 years ago type of deal. It's not for everybody, but it's raw and people love it live. They have a bunch of fighters that want to do it. So it's one thing if you have a good product, but you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't market it properly or you don't sell it, or if you're bad at it, or you're arrogant at it, you know what I mean? Right? Like there's some fight companies, in the past, it's which they thought that they were like the UFC already. You know what I mean? Like BKFC puts a lot of work in, right? So, that's why they're successful. They're doing a great job with the work that they put in. And they always have cards all over the place, all over the world, too. So they're really branching out, like Eastern Europe, the Middle East, right? The Italy card's coming up. And in fact, that's around the corner. The Italian card's coming up. We'll have some best bets for that on our X account, Twitter, @SportsRage. This show is taped earlier in the week, so a lot of times, you know what I mean? You get the weigh-ins, you get different things. We post all of our picks online all the time. So I was in attendance at the UFC card in Vancouver over the weekend. I enjoyed myself, good time, and it was a weird card, controversial, but whatever. You kind of get used to this stuff if you go to MMA events. But it doesn't have to be this way, right? It's amazing to me that through the years, if you think about it, how few new referees we've gotten. And, the local commissions are the ones, right? So the UFC doesn't hire the judges and the UFC doesn't hire the referees. Right? It's up to the local commission, but it's the same people all the time, right? Sal D'Amato, whatever. It's the same judges all the time wherever they are. And it's the same referees for the most part wherever they are because they're on the list. So it's sort of one of these deals where the UFC can take they can take a step back and go, listen, we don't hire Mergliato. We don't hire the judge. But at the same point in time, they have a big-time influence on it. Like, they're basically telling the state commissions and the provincial commissions, these are the people you should hire, right? Because they don't know who to hire, right? They're not going to hire just the local judge. They're going to hire people that have already done the UFC because they don't want to look bad, etc. So I personally think the judging has gotten a lot better. Judging is always going to be subjective, and some of these fights are hard to judge. Right? Some of these fights are hard to judge. Like I said, Sal D'Amato there's always going to be like this outlier and stuff in this score. But for the most part, I think the judges get it right. Right? I think that the judges have gotten a lot better over the years. There's a few places they're bad, like New York, they're bad, Texas, they're bad. But for the most part, I think the judges are, I don't think they're corrupt, put it that way. Like I think sometimes they get it wrong, but they just saw the fight differently. Yet the referees really shouldn't have that much of an impact on a fight, right? Like if you're a referee, what do? All right, don't grab the cage. You know what I mean? There's a few things, don't grab the glove. There's there's a few little rules that are in the fight that you sort of should watch out for. But it's like a baseball game or a referee and umpire, right? Like, you don't know a good umpire's name because, I don't know, he didn't get in the way. I don't know what a guy's name is. He doesn't get in the way. We know Dan Miragliotta's name, but not for the right reasons. Like, if anyone says, oh, yeah, Dan Miragliotta, does anyone say, oh, yeah, he's a great referee? Right? But we've had a problem with this. Like, from the Yves Levines to the Miragliottas. Listen, Herb Dean's been around forever, but people still, you know what I mean? He lets fights go too long. People nearly get killed. He doesn't stop it. Like, they're all over the place. And Miragliotta stopping fights. And no, I didn't stop it. I was separating. There's 3 seconds left. Like, it's amazing to me how bad Miragliotta still is. You know, Rosenthal, and listen, I was at the event, and, you know, I'm drinking and stuff. I'm enjoying, I'm betting on the card, so I'm not taking notes about, all right, you know, I got to rewatch everything if I really want to, you know, this and that. But there was just one disaster after another. And Miragliotta's just like, he's never gotten better. He's never gotten better. It's amazing to me after all these years that, like, the referees haven't gotten better. You know, Frank Trigg got into it. Like, there should be more former fighters that are referees. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter. Matt Brown went off. Matt Brown said on his podcast, these commissions, what are they doing? Really, what are the commissions doing? I don't know what their job is. The promoters have to pay them. They work for the state. I technically know what their job is. They should be making sure the promoter is doing their job and the fighters aren't getting screwed. The referees are legitimate referees and the judges are legitimate. They're all bought and paid for by the UFC or TKO, so to speak. They're all just bought and paid for, says Matt Brown about the referees and the judges. But you see, it's a bad perception if fighters think this, right? About, yeah, you guys say you don't control them, but we all kind of think you do control them, right? I'm not blaming the UFC for this. I don't blame Dana White for the fact that Dan Miragliotta is terrible at his job, right? It just is what it is. I don't think Dana White, what does Dana White care if someone gets screwed every now and then? It doesn't affect the UFC and their bottom line. It affects the fighters, but you really are bad at your job, Dad, and it's amazing that you haven't gotten better after all these years. Combat Sports Report continues. Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Tom Zaino will join us in a couple of moments, and we'll get into UFC 321. We'll recap the Vancouver debacle that was over the weekend. Entertaining card, but as we were just talking about, there was a lot of controversy from the Kevin Holland, Mike Mallet, the big delay, and Holland thinking that the kicks were deliberate, to the Frivola and Nelson fight that stopped with 3 seconds. Then I didn't stop it, and even Cormier was confused, and it was chaotic. And, you know, Dan Miragliotta is always the common theme of the chaos. Like I said, it's amazing to me that through all these years, there's not like, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of new ones. You know, it's not a bad one. The dude with the, what's his name? Is it Beltran? You know, the dude, what's the dude with the long beard? He puts the beard in, like, the ponytail beard. You know, all these refs always have to, like, be some weirdo dude, right? But, like, you know, I'm saying, like, John McCarthy was good in the old days, but, like, it's amazing, like, that they're just so bad when they've been doing it for so long. Like, Miragliotta's been around forever. All right, so speaking of being around forever, Dustin Poirier was around forever, and, of course, he had his retirement fight, so he claimed it was his retirement fight. It hasn't taken long, as I see he's saying right now that that he misses it more than he thought he was going to. Oh, yeah, no kidding, huh? Man, it's like the band, it's like Motley Crue or The Who. Like, if they tell you it's their last tour, don't believe them. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, The Who are like 100 years old now, so maybe that's finally true, but I knew Dustin Poirier wasn't done. It's like, yeah, you're done for now, and it's a little cash grab now, but you'll be back. You're not even that old, and you can still fight. You'll be back. Everybody is back. Right? And if they're not back here, they end up in the BKFC after when it's all said and done. So Tom Aspinall fighting this weekend. Man, he's been on a hell of a run. But he hasn't, doesn't have that signature win. He doesn't have that, that he's beaten people, but he doesn't have the big money fight. He doesn't have the signature win fight. This will be a nice signature win for him. He's a minus 400 favorite against Cyril Gahn. Gahn's a badass who always just has to fight the toughest dudes all the time, right? Gahn got fast-tracked, through the UFC, right through the line, and basically he's fought John Jones, he's fought Ngannou, right? He's fought in the best of the best of the best. Does he eventually break through and crack through one of these? Maybe, but I don't think it's going to be against Tom Aspinall. The thing with Tom is he doesn't really let up. He trains hard. He's like the combination of everything. He's got the physical tools. He's got the heart. He's got the heart, the fighter. He's got the physical tools. He's more athletic than most heavyweights, than all heavyweights almost. He's faster, right? He's just he's almost like a machine. He's just complete package. And so is Gahn, right? Gahn doesn't have the full MMA experience. But like I said, Gahn's been in there with everybody, right? So he's not going to be, maybe you could argue the line is a little bit too high here, but the thing is, Aspenall just wipes everybody out all the time. And when I think Aspenall, there's been a lot of talk about the John Jones fight. This is what I wanted to get to here. So Aspenall, John Jones makes a hell of a lot of sense at the White House, right? You can get England versus the USA. If you're you're doing this thing at the White House, you don't want a bunch of Americans fighting each other, right? You're going to want USA versus the world, essentially, right? So you get, John Jones versus Aspenall. It doesn't get much bigger than that. Joe Rogan is pushing for John Jones versus Pereira, which would be another massive fight. Thing is, the UFC, they're not pushed to pay the fighters these massive paydays for these fights. They just got away from the pay-per-view as well, right? They're selling more volume now than anything, right? They're not really selling the mega card now, the UFC. The UFC is selling to the network, listen, we're going to have a card every week. And, once a month, it'll be pretty good, but you'll have content every week. And we're just going to have, 6,000 fights or 6,000, hours of content for you. But the White House card, it wasn't even Dana's idea. Trump was the one who just threw it out there. And now Dana's got to do it. So if there's ever a time you were going to pay these guys to do it, I think this would be the time, man. But I don't think they want to pay Aspenall and Jones $20 million each or $15 million each or something crazy to do it. So we'll get into the picks for this weekend's card on the other side. NukeTheHouse.com. Tom Zaino steps up and in. The Combat Sports Report continues on the Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Bring it. Combat Sports Report continues on the Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Let's do this thing. Let's break down the UFC Dubai as MMA is having a lot of big cards in the Middle East, as you noticed. The Middle East is just sort of taking over the combat sports world with all the big boxing matches, and now a lot of the times the major UFC cards and events are being held in the Middle East. But we were just at a card in Vancouver over the weekend. And we broke it down last week with Tom Zaino, who steps up and in and joins us right now. And Tom, good job last week. I went to the card, so I put sort of extra work in to my bets because I was going to be there. And I got there relatively early. I wasn't there for all 13 fights, but I saw, I think, about 7 or 8 of them. And we had a great time at the event. It was a lot of fun. The crowd was lit. Vancouver's a great fight town. Like, you wouldn't think of Vancouver as one of the better fight towns and combat sports cities, guys, but it was basically sold out. Like, there wasn't an empty seat in the house, and it was a fight night, not even a pay-per-view card. And people were happy. Canadian fighters were winning for the most part. We slayed the card, except it's never fun when you lose the last fight of the night. And I lost the last fight of the night, and I had a little voice inside me, dude, telling me on Friday and on Saturday and going to the arena and everything. I was like, I'm not so sure the Ritter should be this big of a favorite. Allen just like had that feel of a hungry fighter. I saw him tell the story, Tom, about how he trained in the same gym, right, as the Ritter. And he goes, not once did he ever talk to me. Not once did he ever say, you want to spar? He goes, the guy just basically was a jerk to me the whole time. So F him. I'm going to beat him on Saturday. And it really stuck with me, Tom. And fighters say a lot of things, but he meant it and he proved it.
Yeah, man, I have to say, like, when we got to Friday and Saturday, I started looking at Allen, and he just looked like he had this air of confidence about him. Like, he was there. He was the underdog. He wasn't expected anything of. And he just felt like he was going to walk in there and do the thing. And, the first round, the Ritter looked like $1 million. He took him down. He controlled him. His grappling looked sweet. Everything looked so smooth. And then after that first round, I looked at the Ritter, and I was like, man, he looks a little bit tired. And then second round, same thing. He has some success early, gets reversed. And from that point on, it looked like he just fell off a cliff. And Brendan Allen was like, dude, I can play jiu-jitsu all day long. And, the end of the night, it's a bad beat for me, but, it is what it is. Brendan Allen showed up, he did his thing, and, moving on.
There's always that moment as a bettor when you know that you're on the wrong side of a fight. And that there's always that moment when you're a fighter that you realize that you're in trouble. And it seems like the Ritter's will got broken, just point blank, that he didn't finish him on the ground. He didn't really do any damage to him. He kept on getting reversed. And when I always bring this up, Tom, when another fighter does what, your strength is against you, it really messes with your head. And I think the Ritter was just sort of mentally broken that, well, everything that I do that worked against everybody else is not working against this dude.
Yeah. And it's weird, too, because, he is a grappler. And, he's had these grappling exchanges at the highest level. So, you think the cardio would hold up. But, yeah, man, it just felt like he broke. And, he wanted no part of that fight. And it was kind of shocking to see. Because, I did talk about, like, he's a guy that, he's weathered storms in the past and he's come back strong. But in this situation, it's like, I'm getting beat at what I'm great at. And that broke him. I don't know if he was injured coming into it, if something happened in camp, but yeah, man, that was very weird. That was a weird end to the night. The fight before was very strange. Very, very strange fight card overall. The main card.
There's a lot of weird. There's a lot of weird little things and calls and a stoppage. 3 seconds left earlier, right in the card, and then you had the Mike Mallet and the Holland stuff with the deducted point. And interesting story. I saw Mallet tell Ariel Helwani in an interview after this week that Holland told him after, I don't respect you. You didn't really beat me. And, Mallet said, do you really think I came here trying to kick you in the nuts? He goes, you think that was my plan? To train and to come here and just kick you in the nuts? But Mallet ends up getting the win. Zahabi gets the win. Fiorio's just too much, man. That woman's a beast, bro. She was another one where I was like, you know what? I don't like messing with this girl. And I kind of knew bad things were going to happen.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I kind of liked the way Jazz Davicius started. I thought she looked like she was composed on the feet, but man, when Manon landed that straight left, she had her doing the chicken dance, and she's a killer. So when she's got an opportunity like that, she's gonna pounce. And Jasmine, she did question the stoppage, but if you go back and watch it, when she's on the ground, she does do a face plant again after she takes a couple shots. So, yeah, I knew that was a sketchy one going in, but I thought she would have some success with the grappling. Never had a chance to even get going in that one. And, yeah, we take that one on the chin.
Like I said, Tom, in the arena was very loud and rowdy. How did it come across on TV? Because, it's different when you're in the arena and on TV. What was the event like on TV?
Going back and watching it, it seemed the crowd seemed good. The crowd seemed lively. I was on the live show when it was happening live, So I didn't really get to experience the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, you were breaking it
arena.
down. Yeah. You're watching it, betting at the same time.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like I went back, I watched some stuff, I watched some highlights, and it did seem like the crowd was into it. It seemed like a good event. And, up until those weird, the weird stoppage, that first round stoppage that should have happened, the ref steps in with 3 seconds to go. That's crazy. Obviously the crowd is losing their mind after that. And then, the nut shot and the 3 minutes extra in between rounds after Holland went 5 rounds in round trying to recover. So yeah, it was just a weird night, and I could tell the crowd was pretty raucous because of it, because I mean, that's just a bunch of weird stuff happening.
Yeah, there was a weird energy, and a lot of people too, like there's a lot of people don't know how much time he had, right? I was telling people, listen, he's got 5 minutes here and he can take advantage of the 5 minutes, but then like you said, it just turned into this extra long drama. But it was cool to be at a card. I used to go to more UFC events, but I enjoyed it, and it never gets old. Like they still play the Who when the main card starts, and the arena's rocking. Right, it's a rock show, man. It's more than just a fight card, but they did a good job. Like I remember many years ago, it would be long in between fights sometimes. 15, 20-minute lulls, and they really kept it rolling very, very quickly. It's a very, the production is really, really crisp out of UFC cards, so we really enjoyed ourselves. It's always good to get out amongst fight fans, so it was cool seeing everybody there as well that we ran into. We enjoyed ourselves, so. Now we got a heavyweight battle here. There's been so much talk about Aspenall all the time against John Jones. Have you just given up on that? Tom says that, don't even talk about it anymore. Like it's never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens with this fight. Obviously, John Jones is talking about the White House card, so
that's what makes the most sense, right? Dana says he doesn't trust him, right? Point blank.
Right.
Says, I don't trust you to put you on a White House card.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, it is still John Jones. It's a big name. You want to get the biggest names on those cards. So if Tom Aspinall comes out here and wins, and especially if Tom comes out, second, third round type victory, John Jones is going to be all over X, just, running his mouth. Oh, I took this guy out in 40 seconds, blah, blah, blah. This guy couldn't even finish him. So John Jones is going to be, he's going to be selling this fight. And honestly, when it comes to the heavyweights for the White House card, there's not really any other names. Maybe we see Almeida or somebody, comes out of the woodwork here. He's on this card as well, but he's not a big name. He's not a guy that people know. I mean, so yeah, John Jones at the White House. I think that fight is still in the cards.
Yeah, and I as well. Dana has a big time out. It's John Jones's reputation on the line more than anybody, because the card will be stacked even if like John Jones something happened, right? But it's funny that like Connor wants on the card as well. So
of course,
yeah. So everybody wants on that card. I'm curious to see what happens. There's pressure on him to actually. That's what I like about this. It's almost like the UFC 100 or something. There's actually pressure on him to put together the ultimate of ultimate. Type of cards. But this heavyweight belt, man, I think back to like sort of the old school heavyweights. You want to talk about great athletes right now. We'll break it down on the other side. The Combat Sports Report continues. We're talking UFC 321 right now with Tom Zaino from nukethehouse.com. So, Tom, as we were going to the break, I brought up that these are just super athletic heavyweights, right? Cyril Gane, obviously an amazing athlete, and that's the thing that makes Aspenall, his quickness, his athleticism, that for such a big man that has been the decisive difference for him, and why he just sort of murders people. And he has been murdering people point blank. I mean, this guy just finishes you off in a minute. Look, you look at his losses, two guys, very John Jones-like, right? John Jones never really lost. He was killing Matt Hamill, so he got hit with the illegal elbow loss. Aspinall's been hit with an illegal elbow loss in his career. and his leg gave out once, right? And he got revenge on that. He had a leg injury in the octagon. But this guy, you know what? People hype up every fighter as the greatest ever and all this. I'm not saying this guy's the greatest ever, but he is damn good.
Yeah, I mean, Aspenall, he's one of the best that we've seen in a long time. I mean, you know, DC, it would have been nice to see DC's run at heavyweight if he was a little bit younger. It wasn't the COVID times. You know, Stipe was obviously great. Cain Velasquez. But Aspenall, he's explosive, he's fast, he's big, he's got grappling, he's got good submissions, the power's there. Everything you look for in a heavyweight fighter, everything you look for in any kind of fighter is kind of what Tom Aspenall has. The only real question mark with him is his cardio. I mean, obviously, when you're bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody and you knock everybody out in the first round, there's that question mark, well, what happens if the fight gets into the second, third, and fourth rounds? But so far, from everything I've seen, the guy seems to train hard. The guy seems to, do everything the right way. And Tom Aspinall, I feel bad for him because he's got, he could have a title defense or two on his resume, but, he's got a interim title defense because John Jones was holding the real belt at the time. So his career could look a hell of a lot better. So hopefully he can, come out here.
Big money fight, right? For as good as he is, he hasn't really cashed in that big money fight.
Yeah, right. And this is a shot for him to defend the actual belt. We talked about the John Jones thing, maybe get the John Jones fight in the future next summer. So he's got an opportunity here, but from everything I've seen, the guy, he's got all the tools, he speaks well. He's a smart guy. He's kind of what you're looking for as a heavyweight champ. And, I feel like he's in a good spot this weekend.
Only Arlovsky got out of the first round. So Andre Arlovsky, 109 of the second round. So he really just has disposed of people incredibly quickly. So he's in the minus 400 range right now as far as the odds are concerned. And as far as the total is concerned, Tom, over under 1.5. It's over minus 140, under 1.5 is plus 100. I know this isn't on your list for the best bets for the card, but what's your feel for the main event here and the fight that everybody's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like this one could go a little bit longer. I mean, maybe Aspinall gets the grappling going early and gets him out of there. Maybe tries to replicate what Jones did. But, Gane is a very, very good high-level fighter. He was an interim champion. He's got very good kickboxing. He's kind of sneaky on the ground. He's got sneaky submissions. He can be taken down. We saw Francis Ngannou take him down. We saw Jones take him down, choke him out quick. So there is the possibility that Aspinall just comes out. Yeah, it goes to show
how much they feared him. That even Ngannou was like, I got to take this guy down. Yeah. And Ngannou wasn't known for taking people down.
Yeah, he had no choice. I mean, Ngannou came in. He had a knee injury in that fight. He was getting picked apart. And he said, the only way I'm going to win this fight is to take it to the ground. There was no other option for him. And it worked out. He got the job done. Gane's not a fish out of water on the ground. Obviously, Jones ran through him, had that quick submission. But, you got to give John Jones some credit. It's still John Jones at the end of the day. But, yeah, I mean, Aspinall's got the ability to finish this fight early with the striking. He could take him down. He could submit him. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see how it goes. I am going to be heavily involved in the Tom Aspinall game this weekend. I'm probably going to tie him to some stuff. I might tie him to some NFL props. I do like him. I really do think he wins this fight. And I think he finishes inside the distance. I don't have those props yet, so I can't, I couldn't put anything on the board. But I am pretty heavily in favor of Tom Aspinall for this one.
I can tell you Bet365 for the record, and they're not a sponsor, so we'll tell you about odds at any sports book, but this is pretty good. Not a bad little odds boost that they have for the main event. So Tom Aspinall by KO, TKO, or DQ, and under 1.5 rounds is plus 275 on an odds boost. Like when you consider that the over-under of the fight is 1.5 here, so it's not bad odds. But Gane's a badass, like Tom just stated. So, and, they do have, Aspinall by decision or technical decision, plus 750, gone 10-1. By KO is plus 105 for Aspinall. Cyril gone plus 500 by KO. By submission, Tom Aspinall by submission, plus 225. Gone by submission, 22-1. A draw is 80-1. And then you got the round betting props up as well. Aspenall to win in the first round is plus 210. To win in the second round is plus 350. To win in the third round is plus 600. To win in the fourth round, 10-1. To win in the fifth round, 16-1. So, the odds are telling us here, Tom. The odds makers expect this is going to go no longer than 2 rounds here, because they're giving you a plus 600 to get into the third round.
Yeah, and I am kind of interested in those 2-3 finish props. You're getting pretty good money. Gon's not going to come out here and just lay an egg. I don't think. I think he's going to try to pick his shots. He's going to try to keep the range a little bit. If Aspenall does try to take him down, it is what it is. But, I suspect Gon's going to kind of try to drag this fight out a little bit. Gon has gone 5 rounds. Tom Aspinall hasn't. So I think he's going to try to be the game plan. So those 2-3 props. Yeah, those 2-3 props might be a sneaky way to look at this fight.
All right, on the other side, we'll get Tom's best bets. He's got a couple of looks on the undercard and the prelims. UFC 321 this weekend. We're breaking it down on the Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. The Combat Sports Report. Bring it. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Gabriel Morency. All right, we're to the final round right now, so let's get Tom's best bets. Tom, looking at we talked about the main event with Cyril Gane and Aspenall, but what else catches your eye on this card for betting purposes?
Yeah, there's still a few fights I want to do a bit of a deeper dive on, and I'm waiting for some props to drop. But I'm looking at some over-unders. I think Amarin has a very good chance to finish her fight by submission. Obviously, I can't bet that right now, but I like the under 2.5 in that one. And then the Klein-Rubeski fight, I think that's going to be a bit of a war. Klein's a very good technical kickboxer. Rubeski's tough as nails. So I think that one goes over. So I put those two together. I think it was plus 138 on that parlay. And then I had a couple overs. I like Umar a lot. I'm very high on Umar. I'm probably going to have him in some parlays, but I do think that fight with him and Bautista is going to go over. Bautista's a tough out. Bautista can grapple. They're going to be back and forth. So I think that fight goes over the 2.5. And then the other fight, I'm sorry. I had what did I have? I just want to make sure I got these right. I had the Maxim, I believe, tied to the Amarin fight. Maxim, I just think he's the better fighter in this spot. I think his money line, I don't want to lay the minus 300 or whatever it ends up being, but I think Maxim, has a pretty clear path. He's a guy, he's 1-2 in the UFC, but he's fought some really tough guys in his losses. So I think in this spot against, what's his name? What is this kid's name? Raposo. I think against Raposo, Raposo's a tough kid. He's got skills. But I think Maxim is just the overall better fighter. So I think Maxim gets it done, and tied that with the Amarin fight. And then, so the Rubeski over with the Nurmagomedov over, and that's where we're at for that.
A live dog on this card could be Sutherland. He's plus 250. It's against Johnny Walker's brother. He was supposed to fight Usman's brother, remember, and the fight got canceled a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, Walker's a minus 334 favorite, and I think this could be sort of on, name, and he's had a couple of heel kick KOs. So he's a 334 favorite, but I think he could be there for the taking, right? I mean, Sutherland comes in here getting plus 250. I'm going to roll the dice on the underdog in this one, Tom.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, Walker, obviously he's got those heel hook finishes. He's dangerous on the ground. But, there are still holes to his game. I thought that the fight against Usman, I thought he had a really good shot in that one. I thought that was a pretty easy spot. This one's a little bit tougher. He's fighting a big dude, tough guy, tough out. And then again, he's planning on fighting 2 weeks ago.
Does he have something else? Right? That's the whole thing. He's got 3 wins in a row, right? With the same move. Does he have something else?
Yeah. I mean, he's looked to be in better shape since making his debut. His striking is not the greatest. I think there's definitely question marks there. I think he could be had on the feet. And, if the grappling doesn't work out, how does the cardio hold up? So, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one. That's not a bad, that's not a bad dog shot. And, you're talking about heavyweights here. So anything's possible with these guys.
Speaking of which, Volkov on the card as well. All right, we got about a minute or so, I believe, here. So anything on the way out? Any other fights? We didn't even get to, Mackenzie Dern and Janaramba. Dern minus 170 favorite in a rematch, right? They already fought a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I like Dern. I think she probably gets it done. I like the overs in that fight. Dern over 1.5, Dern by decision. Not a bad look. That's kind of where I was leaning going into that one. One kind of crazy one is Chris Barnett. I think this guy, he's a big fat dude. He's 5'9". He's like as tall as me fighting at heavyweight. But he's fighting Hamdi Abdelwahab, who's, a local fighter. And I feel like they're trying to get a local fighter a win in this spot. But Chris Barnett, I could see him coming through. And I think I might have a little sprinkle on the money line there with Chris Barnett. He's a guy that can go 3 rounds. I think he's got the better cardio in this matchup. He's faster. And so a sneaky play for me, sneaky dog that I'm probably going to be betting is Chris Barnett, because I just don't think Hamdi is all that great, and I don't think his cardio is very good.
Great stuff, Tom. Always a pleasure, my man. Thanks for joining us this week on the Combat Sports Report.
Thanks, guys. Always love to be here. Appreciate it.
There's Tom Zaino with us. Thanks to all of our guests on the program. Thanks to the crew, and thanks to you, the viewer. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.